All right, Rabbi, say good morning, good morning, good morning. Let us begin. A beautiful daf ahead of us today. Today's daf is Mem Dalid Amud Aleph. Although I tried to get to the Mishnah in yesterday afternoon's shir, we're actually just going to pick up on the bottom of Mem Gimel Amud Beis. We are picking up 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 lines up from the bottom. Our shir this morning is dedicated by our Talmud Torah sponsors of the month of Shvat, Ed and Faith Wolf, in memory of Faith's mother Nessa Bas Velvel and Berachos Silber, in memory of her husband Avi Avram ben Kalman Eliezer Halevi. And we hope that in the merit of our learning, the Neshamos will have an aliyah. The family is a nechama, and we dedicate our learning of the Zechus of Rafu Shlomo for Yoshua Simcha ben Bluma, in the hope that he, together with Kol Yisrael, will have a complete and enduring refuah. And both with that, let us begin. So we are picking up, remember again, the Mishnah quoted a brisa that spoke about the number of different things that a Talmud Chacham should not do. Amongst them, the Gemara says, Va'al yetze yechidi balayla. Ultimately, again, a Talmud Chacham should not go out alone at night. Why is that? Mishum chashada. Ultimately, again, because he is suspect. In other words, it looks like if somebody goes out alone at night, it looks like that ultimately, again, perhaps he's going for some type of illicit rendezvous. Now, we'll say, now you say to yourself, well, if that's the case, then why don't we say any person shouldn't go out at night? So remember, again, the idea that you see over here from the Gemara is that Chazal are holding the Talmud Chacham to a higher standard of conduct. That the Talmud Chacham has to make sure that he is beyond reproach, that his behaviors ultimately, again, are above any possibility of any type of even perception of wrongdoing. So do people go out at night for non-illicit purposes? Of course they do. But Lamais, the Talmud Chacham must make sure that his behavior is just not subject to any possibility of negative perception. But this is only true if he does not have it. Oh, I forgot one additional sponsor. I'm sorry. I'm not sure if it was a sponsorship for yesterday or for Shabbos. So Dr. Lussman, when was the sponsorship for? Was it for Erev Shabbos? Friday. Okay, so thank you to Dr. Lussman. Baruch Hashem. It's a lot of advertisements over here in the beginning of the show. Thank you, Dr. Lussman, for dedicating the shir. Friday, Shabbos, we're going to give you a bonus, a 3-for-1, because I announced it yesterday also, in honor of a special anniversary, whatever number it is, Mazel Tov. And in gratitude to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Thank you very much for the sponsorship. Yeshikach. So we'll say, the Gemara says, when is this true ultimately again, that a Talmud Chacham is not permitted to go out? That's only if he doesn't have a set time to learn with his Rabbi. But if again he has a shir at night, so again people know that the reason he's going out is ultimately to learn with his Rabbi. And ultimately again he cannot go out. Talmud Chacham can't go out with patched shoes. Misayele Rabbi Chia bar Abba. Rabbi Chia bar Abba, Ginayhu l'Talmud Chacham sheyetze b'mina alim hamatulan. It is a degradation for a Talmud Chacham to go out with patched shoes. We both say this is in line, by the way. Similarly, the Gemara says the Talmud Chacham who walks out with a stain on his clothing is chayiv misa. Okay, a bit of hyperbole, but the idea being that the Talmud Chacham is supposed to be the ambassador of Torah, the ambassador of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and therefore even his external appearance has to be pristine. So he can't go out with patched clothing. Ini, is that so? Vaha Rabbi Chia bar Abba of Nafik, yet Rabbi Chia bar Abba did go out with patched shoes. Armar Zutra Braid Rav Nachman Bitaloi al Gabi Taloi. So the Gemara says, no, it's talking about a patch on top of a patch. So the idea is people patch their shoes all of the time. But the idea is if it's a patch on top of a patch, that's already such a sorry state of disrepair that it would be inappropriate for a Talmud Chacham to go out like that. V'lo amron ela babansa about begilda les lanba. Furthermore, this is only if the patch is on the top of the shoe, in other words, the visible part of the shoe. But if the patch is on the heel, right on the bottom of the shoe, we don't worry about it. Furthermore, v'lo amron ela orcha about bebesa les lanba. Furthermore, this is only shoes you wear outside of the house. If he happens to like his slippers and they have multiple patches, he can wear it inside of the house as well. And furthermore, this is only true during the summer. But during the winter, we don't worry about it. So I'll say it's interesting. Why is it that the winter we don't worry about it? So Rashi says, anyway, during the winter, people's shoes are covered with mud. So just you see, like people, that was normal. You walked around muddy shoes. No, it's not rich, poor. That's everyone walked around with muddy shoes. So no one really ever saw your shoes during the winter anyway, because it was caked with mud. Next, V'yisaper ima isha b'shuk. A Talmid Chacham should not converse with a woman in the marketplace. Amar Rav Chisda, va'afilu hi ishto. Rav Chisda said this is true even if it's his wife. And Rashi says, afilu hi ishto, she'ein hakol makirin ba, v'choshten also. Because ultimately, again, not everyone knows who the Talmid Chacham's wife is and who it's not. So again, Rabbi said this is all about holding oneself to a higher standard of behavior. That the Talmid Chacham should not, the goal is, no one should be able to say anything. Rabbi said, now you know, of course, by the way, that this is virtually an impossible standard. Because, and we know, when people want to talk, they'll always find what to talk about. Remember, again, no greater example of this than Moshe Rabbeinu, right? Again, remember, what did they say when Moshe Rabbeinu stopped living with his wife as a result of being in direct communication with HaKadosh Baruch Hu? They accused him of being an adulterer. Say, if he's not living with his wife, he must be living with someone else's wife. Right? So you see that when people, it's a general yesod in life, when people want to find something negative, they'll always find something negative, even about a Moshe Rabbeinu. That might be true, but the Talmid Chacham is still obligated to do whatever is within his power to avoid suspicion. So even speaking with a woman in the shuk, Tanya nami hochi, afilu hi ishto, afilu hi bito, afilu hi achoso. This idea of the Talmid Chacham not speaking with a woman in the shuk is true even if it's his wife, even if it's his daughter, even if it's sister. Why? Lefi she'ein hakol bikin bikrabosav. Because ultimately, again, because not everybody is knowledgeable, not everybody knows who the relations of the Talmid Chacham are. Va'al Yosef v'chabur sha'am ha'aretz, what is incredible, and he should not go ahead and literally sit down with the group. Literally, heseba means recline. He shouldn't recline with amaratzim, with ignorant people. My taima dilma asila emshuche basraihu, because perhaps the Talmid Chacham will be pulled after the amaratzim. Rabbi say this is such an incredible yesod. What is this saying? So be careful who your friends are. A lot of times in life we think that we can allow ourselves to be exposed to certain things, and those exposures or those influences won't hurt us. I'm strong enough on my own that even if the people who I associate are not doing the right things, that's what they do, but that's not going to influence me, right? I'm strong enough to withstand all of the influences. And the Gemara says, Yishuv, that's a blatantly false statement. That's a delusional statement. The people who you keep company with are the people absolutely who impact you in so many dramatic ways. Sometimes even in ways that you don't know. See, even a Talmid Chacham. When the Gemara talks about a Talmid Chacham, that's a serious level to have reached. But yet the Gemara says, Talmid Chacham, don't recline. Don't start keeping company with the Amaratzim, because if that's who you keep company with, then at the end of the day, they will pull you into their chabura. Don't think that you could withstand the influences of negative people around you. Of course, they're both say you have to go ahead and have good relationships with every person, but there's a difference between people who you have good relationships with versus people who you recline with. Right? The people you recline with are the people you keep close company with. So just understand, your friends may be good people, but if they're not doing the right things, they will exert a negative influence on you. And no matter how personally strong you think you may be, that impact is always felt. The Gemara says, don't come last to Beis Medrash. I would globalize this. I mean, don't come late to the Beis Medrash, right? Why? Mishum dekarle poshea. Because they'll say, what happens if you come last to the Beis Medrash? They're going to call you negligent, right? To poshea. Don't take large steps. So we'll say this refers to an arrogant stride. So don't take an arrogant stride. Damar psia gason otalis achas mitafkof mimoar inav shel adam. We'll say this is an incredible Gemara, that taking arrogant strides takes away some percentage of your eyesight. The idea being that one who walks in a haughty fashion removes part of his eyesight. They're both saying, now what does that mean, walking in a haughty fashion? So they both say, arrogance blinds a person. Right? When a person is arrogant, all they see is their own ideas, their own ego, their own hashkafas, and they're blinded to the realities around them. That's what it means. When you take arrogant steps, it removes some percentage of your eyesight. My takante. So I'll say ultimately again, so how do you remedy this? Let's say I did take large strides, and therefore again I lost part of my eyesight. So what's the takana? This is incredible. Bikidusha the Beis Shimshi. So we'll say, so look at Rashi, last Rashi, the Bikidusha the Beis Shimshi. Sheshose kos shal kiddush B'Shabbos b'Layla, drink the Kiddush wine. So apparently drinking the Kiddush wine restores a level of eyesight. They both say, what's the pshat? What's the pshat? So the pshat is, what's Kiddush on Shabbos? Kiddush on Shabbos is ultimately when you accept HaKadosh Baruch Hu as the creator. That's the antithesis of Gaiva, right? Gaiva is that I am the center of the universe. Gaiva, there's nothing more important than me. Gaiva, it's my ideas, my hashkafas, my ideologies, my outsides, my insights, my outlooks. That's what's correct. Kiddush on Shabbos is when I accept HaKadosh Baruch Hu as the Borei, not just as the Borei. I bend my creative need to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's the one who fashions everything. Kiddush is the ultimate demonstration of anava, of humility. In Kiddush, I humble myself. The 6 days of the week, I think I'm the creator of the world, or at least the creator of my world. Then Shabbos comes along and says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the creator of everything. So he who has been afflicted by Gaiva has manifested itself by taking large strides, and therefore has lost part of his life vision, regains that vision when he humbles himself before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Lastly, the Gemara says, do not walk with literally again like a straight posture. So we'll say, this doesn't, you can walk with a straight posture. What this refers to really is almost like with someone like with their nose in the air, right? Someone who walks with like an arrogant type of posture. The Gemara says, one who goes in and walks with like an arrogant posture. It's as if he's pushing away the feet of the Shekhinah. Both say the idea is that a person walks a little bit in a humble posture in this world, recognizing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is on top of me. But at the end of the day, a person walks with a totally erect posture. A person walks with a little bit of an arrogant posture. It's as if they're pushing away the feet of the Shekhinah. D'chsiv, melo kol haaretz kivodo. Beautiful. We'll say top of Mem Daled Mishnah. So we'll say now we come to a concept we've alluded to many, many times throughout the last number of dapim. Now we're going to see it. Listen to this. They brought before a person something very salty. And together with the salty item, they also brought bread. So we'll say, so in this case over here, it's clear that a person is eating the bread. Why? To blunt the saltiness of the food item. So what's the halacha? You go and you make a bracha on the salty item, and that exempts the bread. So we'll say in this type of situation, one would not be obligated to make a hamotzi lechem min haaretz on the bread. Rather, one makes a bracha on the maliach, on the salty item, and the bread is only brought there in order to blunt the saltiness. Because in this case, the bread is secondary to the salty item. And this is the rule. Kol shu ikar v'imot tefillah mevarich ala ikar. We've seen this rule many, many, many times already throughout just the 6th parak. But here it is. The halacha is that whenever you have two food items, one is an ikar, one is a tafel, one is primary, one is secondary, you make a bracha on the primary item and it exempts the secondary item. So the Gemara says, so the Gemara just wonders, is such a case, such a metzias really possible, where you have something that is more primary to bread, or a situation where you're only eating bread to blunt the taste of something else? To which the Gemara says, yes, Amravashi, ba'ochle peros ginosar. Listen to this. The case is where a person eats the fruit of ginosar. Rashi says over here, peros ginosar, peros eretz yam kineret, chashuvim min hapas. So I both say, if you ever go ahead and you drive, if you're driving there, so you take the Jordan Valley Road, you pass a moshav that's called moshav Ginosar. I don't know if it's the same Ginosar as there, but again, it's right by the Kinneret. So Ginosar was known to produce the most sweetest and the sweetest and most succulent fruit. So the Gemara gives, you'll see why in just a moment. So the Gemara says, Gemara tells a story. Amar Bar Rechana. Listen to this. Ki avazlina b'aseit Rabbi Yochanan. When we, the Talmidim of Rabbi Yochanan, would follow after him, Lamechal Peres Ginosa. So Rabbi Yochanan, was going to see, loved the fruit of Ginosar. So Rabbi Bar Rechana says that when we, the Talmidim, would follow after our Rebbe to bring him Peros Ginosar, so Ki avinan be'meya menaktin lu kol chad v'chad asara. When there were 100 students, each student would take 10 fruit. When we were only 10 students, every student took 100 fruits. And every one of the 100 fruits of Ginosar, right? And again, they were such large fruits that 100 fruits would be held in a basket that held 3 sa large. And Rabbi Yochanan would go ahead and eat all of the fruits. He would eat 1,000 peiros Ginosar. O mishtaba The low time ziyuna, and he would swear, it's as if I've eaten nothing. Ziyuna sakadait, as if he ate nothing. 1,000 fruit. Obviously, there's a bit of hyperbole over here. He's not eating 1,000 fruit. The idea is he's eating a lot of fruit, and he was swear it's like I ate nothing. So they ate nothing. Elaima mizona. Rather, what he said is like this: it's as if I eat nothing and that I'm not full. I'm not full. I eat all of this fruit, and it's as if I'm not full. Rabbi Avo Achis will say the idea being when something is so sweet. So apparently it doesn't sate, it doesn't satisfy. Instead, what it does is it just increases hunger. So Rabbi Yochanan would eat all of this fruit, and after eating all of this fruit, he would swear, I'm still hungry. I'm still hungry. Rabbi Avo, listen to this. Achal adda havusarik le dudva me'afusye. Rabbi Avo would go ahead and eat the fruit, literally again until his skin became so soft, and almost like so slick from the fruit that a fly would slip off his forehead. Rabbi Ami, Rabbi Asi, Hava Achli, Ad Dinasr Mazayu. Rabbi Ami, Rabbi Asi would eat it. He would eat the fruit of ginosra until the hair fell out. So I'll say apparently what this means is again same idea. This is what happened to me, by the way. So I'll say so the peiros ginosar. So apparently again because they're so sweet, and I guess because like the skin becomes so oily from it, the pores opened up and their hair fell out. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Shimon Lakish, Hava Achil ad Demarid. Rabbi Shimon Lakish ate it, now we'll say, Demarid literally means, Rashi says, Daito mitarefes. Literally, he lost his mind. He became like delirious with the sweetness. Rabbi Yochanan said to the house of the Nasi, Rabbi Nisia Balushi, Abasei Umaisei Lebesei. And ultimately, again, Rabbi Shimon Lakish ate so much fruit that he became like incapacitated. They had to send soldiers or attendants from the house of Rabbi Huda Nasi to take him home. So we'll say, the Gemara is just giving an example over here. Now, why are they bringing this up? Because apparently the fruits of ginosa were so sweet that you could not eat them by themselves. So what would people do? They would eat a piece of bread together with the peiros ginosar in order to go ahead and blunt the sweetness. So the Gemara is bringing this as an example because the Gemara is bothered by, is there such a case, is there such a situation where you would go ahead and have to eat bread to blunt the taste of something else? To which the Gemara says, yes, peiros ginosar were so sweet that you could not eat them alone. You would have to eat them with something else to blunt the sweetness. Or we'll say, just as an aside, and therefore again, the halacha would be that technically speaking, if you're not eating bread, even though remember again, if there's one rule that we've seen throughout our journey in the sixth parak of Berachos, is that bread is king. Bread is always king, with one exception, where it's clear that the bread is only being consumed to blunt the taste of something else. The item which you're blunting is the ikr, the bread is the tafel. You make the bracha on the item and do not make the bracha on the bread. Now, both say, I will tell you, we do not paskin this way, right? Really, the Mishnah Berurah says that me'ikr adin, even if this is true, like the Mishnah Berurah's case is, from the Mishnah Berurah's perspective, the case of maliach, of a very salty piece of fish, is a very common case. So again, he says our common day practice is once you're eating bread, you're always making the hamotzi, even if it's clear the only reason the bread is being consumed is to blunt the taste. But nevertheless, if you're a purist, the halacha really is like this. That halacha lamaisa, if the bread is only being consumed to blunt the sweetness or the saltiness, the bread is the tafel, the other item is the ikar. But just say as an aside, we'll see this later on, but not in this masechta. I think it's an avol. I don't remember which masechta it's in. But why is it that the fruit of ginosa is so sweet? So the Gemara discusses that there are multiple entranceways to Gan Eden in this world. And one of the entryways to Gan Eden is by Ginosar. So ultimately, again, because the entranceway is there, the shefa, right, the flow of Kedusha of Gan Eden flows into Ginosar, and it manifests itself ultimately in the sweetness of the fruit. Such a beautiful idea. Kiyos, so we'll say, so now, by the way, that we started speaking about the peiros of Ginosar, the Gemara is going to use this as an opportunity, ultimately, to speak about the incredible vitality of Eretz Yisrael. So Kiyosar Avdimi Amar, and Dimi Kemal said as follows: Ir achas haisol Yanai Hamelech Bahar Hamelech. So King Yanai had a particular city in Har Hamelech. So I'll say Har Hamelech. Har Hamelech is identified by the Marsha as being in the area that we call the Shomron. So the Shahayim Otziyim Imenu Shishim Rivo Safle Taris Lakot Seitin. And both say, now watch this. So in this area in Har Hamelech, King Yanai had a city. And in this city, what they would do is they would bring out 600,000 bowls of sliced tuna to those who went ahead and were harvesting the figs. So we'll say, so what does this mean? They had so many people harvesting figs that they had to feed them 600,000 bowls of sliced tuna. That's so. The idea is it's not a chap in the tuna, right? It's a chap in the figs, right? That's how many workers they had harvesting figs in this one area, that it was 600,000 bowls. They both say that, by the way, whenever you see the number 600,000, also it's usually a bit of hyperbole, because 600,000 is always that number again for Yotzei Mitzrayim, always represents a lot. The idea being there's such an incredible number of workers who are harvesting figs in this area to show you the fig production that was taking place. So the Gemara says, Me'erev Shabbos, Erev Shabbos. So I will say this again, this was the amount of sliced tuna that they served over the course of 1 week. 600,000 bowls of sliced tuna to feed the workers who are harvesting the figs. Similarly, again, Rabin says that there was one tree that Yanai had in Har HaMelech. Remember, Har HaMelech is this region. One tree produced 40 sa'ah of young pigeons from 3 different groups in every month, B'chodesh. And again, so one tree producing an incredible amount of pigeons per month. Yitzchak Amar Ir Achas Haisa Be'eretz Yisrael, the Gufnis Shema. There was a city in Eretz Yisrael that was named Gufnis. Shahayu Ba Shmonim. So it's actually very beautiful. So this is switching gears a little bit. Well, once you start talking about the beauty of Eretz Yisrael, so things kind of flow one into the other. So first we started speaking about the vitality of the land, right? The vitality of the land ultimately again in figs. The vitality of the land, well first, the vitality of the land in Peros Ginosar, then vitality of the land with fig production, then vitality of the land with pigeon production. Now the Gemara says something very beautiful. The Gufnis Shema. There was a land in Eretz Yisrael, there was a city in Eretz Yisrael, and the name of the city was Gufnis. So that goes to Tzin and changes this to Gufnin. Okay, so that's Gufnis, Gufnin. Shahayuba, Shmonim Zugos Achim Kohanim. There are 80 pairs of Kohanic brothers. Nisuim L'Shmonim Zugos Achayos Kohanos, who married 80 pairs of Kohanic sisters. So I will say, what's the chap of this? They were so careful to preserve Kohanic yichus that Kohanim would only marry Kohanos. Right? So there was this city in Eretz Yisrael where the Kohanim were so careful to preserve their yichus that Kohanim would only marry girls from Kohanic families as well. And they looked everywhere. They could not find another city that had this. They could not find this practice, this genealogical purity anywhere else. From Eretz Yisrael to Babylonia, the closest they came to it is that the daughters of Rav Chisda, 2 daughters married 2 brothers, right? 2 sisters married 2 brothers. The daughters of Rav Chisda married Rami Bar Chama and Mar Ukva Bar Chama. Va'af agav de'inhi Havi Kahanta inhu la Havi Kohanim. Even though the girls were daughters of Kohanim, the men who they married were not Kohanim. Okay, beautiful. So again, the Gemara is just giving another example just of the incredible abundance of Eretz Yisrael and then the genealogical purity which could only be found in Eretz Yisrael. Amarav, Kol Suda Shem Bamelach, Ina Suda. This is actually a quite idea. Rav says any meal that doesn't have salt is not a meal. So just to understand, just on a very basic level. So again, Rav is saying that remember, salt was an incredibly important fixture in their meal. Because remember, again, like we saw, you're supposed to have salt for the bread, because generally it appears that bread was blander, right? So the idea was that halacha l'maaseh, you made the piece of bread a bit more palatable by adding salt. So Rav says salt is a necessary condiment for any meal, and any meal that you don't have bread in, ultimately again is a deficient meal. Amar Rav Chia bar Abba, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Kol Suda she'im basrif ein suda. Well, it's interesting. Rabbi Yochanan says any meal that doesn't have soup, right? Any meal that doesn't have soup is not a meal. So I will say, bepashtos, what they're referring to ultimately again is what makes a meal chashuv, right? What makes a meal? What is it that makes a meal chashuv? Is it ultimately again Is it ultimately the salt, or is it the soup? So I will say, so I'll tell you something interesting. So it could very well be that this machlokes is also not just a machlokes about meal, but also an interesting hashkafas hachayim. That if you look at the su'uda, the meal, not just as a culinary experience, but the meal as a metaphor for life. Shabbos say, so what makes life meaningful? So the first opinion says it's salt. We'll say, what is salt? What is salt? Salt adds flavor. You see, a person could go through life, and you could do all the right behaviors, but there's no flavor. There's no flavor. My Yiddishkeit is bland. My avodas Hashem is bland. I daven every day, but what a bland tefillah, right? I do mitzvahs every day, but what bland mitzvahs? There's no flavor. The food is there. I have all the food groups, right? I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but there's no salt. There's no melach, and a person can live an entire lifetime being behaviorally pious, but flavor deficient. There's no flavor in my life. There's no flavor in my avodas Hashem. So the first opinion says, what makes life life? What makes your avodas Hashem real? It's the melach. You got to have flavor. You got to have hislavos. You have to have passion. You have to have excitement. You have to have a brent. You have to have something that brings energy to your Yiddishkeit. Second opinion says, we'll say, what gives meaning to life? What gives meaning to the Suda? Soup. We'll say, what's soup? What's soup? Soup is an appetizer. You see, there are two different ways you could have a meal. You could jump right into the main, or you could have an appetizer. What does the appetizer do? It prepares you. If you want to have meaningful avodas Hashem requires an appetizer. It requires hachana. It requires preparation. If you want to have meaning in your Yiddishkeit, you can't just jump into a mitzvah, but you have to prepare for it. Like we saw, Chasidim Harishonim, Hayushon Sha'achas, Lefnei Tefillah, Acharat Tefillah. You want to have meaning in your Yiddishkeit, it requires preparation. There's an energy that goes in. A lot of times, the reason why we don't find fulfillment in our avodas Hashem is because we're not properly or adequately prepared to serve the Ribbon Shalom. And that's true in so many areas. Sometimes the preparation is we don't really understand what it is that we're doing. We don't have a full appreciation. Or sometimes it's just that we roll in and we do it and there's not the proper achana. So I will say, so the shaila is, which gives meaning to the Suda of life? Is it the flavor, the extra energy and passion, or is it the soup? Is it the hachana? So I think halacha l'maisa, you have to have salt and you have to have soup. Right? We paskin like both. You have to have flavor. You have to have a zrizos, an excitement for a Yiddishkeit, infuse a flavor, but you also have to have the achana. Beautiful. Says the Mishnah. We'll say next. A person eats grapes and figs, very more pomegranates. So mevarich acharim shalosh brachos. So we'll see actually quite amazing. Different Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Gamliel says if you eat from the shivas haminim, right? So remember again, we'll say this is not obviously you don't have to eat all of these items. You're eating one of these items. You're eating something from the shivas haminim, grapes, figs, or pomegranates. Rabbi Gamliel paskins, you have to bench afterwards. You must bench after shivas haminim. We'll see why he says that. The Chum say no, bracha achas means shalosh. No, all you need is what we call a bracha achas means shalosh, which, an ala micha or ala gefen, which we'll see in the Gemara. Rabbi Kiva Omer, afilu achal shalak v'umizon, mavarech alav gimel brachas. This is incredible. Well, see, Rabbi Kiva comes along. So we'll say, first machlokes in the Mishnah is, what are you obligated to do after Shivas Haminim? Rabbi Gamliel says you're obligated to bench. Obligated to bench. The Chachamim say bracha achas mein shalosh. Comes along Rabbi Akiva, and Rabbi Akiva advances the most expansive shita we have by benching. Rabbi Akiva says, when do you bench? When do you bench? After you eat a meal and you're full. That's it. It actually doesn't matter what it is that you're eating. So he says, for example, even if you're just eating a cooked vegetable, and that's your su'udah, after you finish that, you have to bench. If a person drinks water because he's thirsty, he makes a bracha of shakol. Rabbi Tarfon Omer, bore nefashos rabos v'chesron. Rabbi Tarfon says, no, you make a brain nefashos. So we'll see exactly what they're arguing about in the Gemara. Says the Gemara, my time with Rabbi Gamliel. What's Rabbi Gamliel's lashon? So why does Rabbi Gamliel say that halacha l'maisa you bench after you eat figs, grapes, or pomegranate, after you eat even the fruit of Shivas Haminim, Tichsev, Eretz Chita Usaora, because the Torah discusses the Shivas Haminim, Uksev, Eretz Asher Lo Meskenos Tocho Balechem, Uksiv v'achalta v'savato v'rachtas Hashem Elokecha. So I will say in Rabbi Gamliel's model, very simple. Shivas Haminim is juxtaposed to benching. So you see from here that what? That halacha l'maisa, or I should say, Shivas Haminim is juxtaposed to bread. Bread is juxtaposed to Birkas Hamazon. So if A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C. Right? So therefore again, halacha l'maisa. Therefore again, after going ahead and partaking of Shivas Haminim, you go ahead and you bench. Juxtaposition. But the Rabbanon say, no. Eretz hifsika inyan. No. The intervening pasuk will say, so in other words, there's a pasuk of Shivas Haminim, there's a pasuk about bread, and there's a pasuk about Birkas Hamazon. So Rabbi Gamliel sees all three of those linked. The Chacham say they're not linked. The bracha of bread, the eretz of the bread pasuk, serves to go ahead and break the link between Shivas Haminim and Birkas Hamazon. To tell you that bread gets Birkas Hamazon, but Shivas Haminim do not. I Rabbi Gamliel nami eretz hifsika inyan. I Rabbi Gamliel. What do you do about the eretz? Right? We'll say that's the eretz asher lo b'miskinos tocha ba'lechem. That pasuk interrupts between the bracha of Shivas Haminim and benching. Rabbi Gamliel says, you're right, that comes to interrupt to tell you that if you chew on wheat, you don't require Birkas Hamazon for that. So therefore, this is the machlokes. So machlokes, Rabbi Gamliel understands that those three psukim, Shivas Haminim, Eretz asher lo b'meskinos tocha ba'lechem, v'achalta b'savato v'rachta, is all one continuum, and teaches you that halacha l'maisa, you bench ultimately again on Shivas Haminim. Chacham say no. The pasuk of Eretz asher lo b'meskinos tocha ba'lechem interrupts the flow to teach you that on bread you bench, but on Shivas Haminim you do not. Of course, you know halacha l'maisa we pass like the Chachamim that we do not bench on Shivas Haminim. So watch this. So the Gemara says, Amar Rav Yaakov bar Idi Amar Rabbi Chanina. Kol shemichamesh haminin betchilim mevarich ala borei minei mezonos ulebasof bracha achas min shalosh. Anything that is made from grain, any of the 5 grains, right? Wheat, barley, spelt, oats, rye. Anything that comes from the 5 grains. Also remember we dealt with rice earlier on. Anything that comes from the 5 grains, you make a mazonos before you eat it, and what we call a bracha achas mein shalosh. We'll say bracha achas mein shalosh is a one bracha that essentially goes ahead and brings together the 3 first paragraphs of benching. That's bracha achos, one blessing that combines the elements of the 3 representing the first 3 brachos of Birkas Hamazon, of benching. What we call for these purposes over here, an ala michya. Amar Rabba bar Mari, Amar Rabbi Shimon Levi, kol shu mishivas haminin, b'tchilim mavarich, bori priya eitz, uluvasov bracha achas min shalosh. Similarly again, anything that's from the Shivas Haminim. Now this is of course referring to the non-grain parts of the Shivas Haminim. You make a brei praise before you eat it, and a bracha achas min shalosh, what we call an ala eitz, after you eat it. Amalei abayil Rav Dimi, ma'nihu bracha achas min shalosh. What is this bracha achas? What's the text of this bracha achas min shalosh? Amalei, so he said to him, aperi de'etz, if you're making this bracha achrona on fruits that come from the tree, so we'll say from Shivas Haminim, so for grapes, for dates, for figs, for pomegranates, here's what you're going to say. Ala eitz v'al peria eitz. Al tnuvas hasoda, so on the tree, on the fruit that come from the tree, on the produce from the field. Al eretz chamda tova urachava, on the beautiful, precious, and expansive land. Shin chaldal avosim, that you have given to our ancestors, to our forefathers. Lechomer piyav v'isbal mituva, to eat of its fruit, to become sated from its goodness. Rachim Hashem Elokeinu al Yisrael Amecha. Have rachmanas on Yisrael, your nation. V'Yushalayim Yirecha, on Yushalayim, your city. V'al Mikdashecha, and on your base Hamikdash. V'al Mizbechecha, and on your altar. V'Sivna Yerushalayim Irkat Shechem Hera B'Yaminu. Rebuild Yerushalayim, your holy city, speedily in our days. V'Ha'alinu L'Socha, bring us into it. V'Samchinu Ba, and allow us to rejoice inside of it. Again, Hagos adds on to this girsa. He says, "V'samchinu bevinyana ki atah Hashem tov." So I'll say, so ultimately it changes it a little bit. Ki atah tov umeitiv lakol. Both say, so by the way, this here you have it. Here's alait. So both say, isn't it strikingly amazing? Strikingly amazing that we have been saying the same bracha for 2,000 2,000 years, with slight modifications. But again, those modifications, I just want to point out, there are different versions of the Gemara. So the other alternate versions of the Gemara almost are mirror images of the ala eitz that we say to this today. The same bracha for 2,000 years. The same bracha for 2,000 years. It's incredible. Nothing stays the same for 2,000 years. Yet our brachos have stayed the same. The nitzchias of Klal Yisrael. It's just overwhelming. So the Gemara says, this is kiyato tov mitav. Fine. Look, chameshes haminin. What do you say for, what's the bracha? What's the bracha achas mein shalosh? For grain-based items. Ala michya, v'ala kalkala, v'al tinu v'asasada, v'chosem. So we'll say, so pretty much it's the same text of the bracha. Just the intro is different. Instead of saying ala eitz, v'al priya eitz, we say ala michya, v'ala kalkala, v'al tinu v'asasada, v'chosem, ala aretz v'ala michya. And we end off the bracha, Baruch Ato Hashem, ala aretz v'ala michya. Again, there are different versions of that suffix, ala aretz v'ala michya v'ala kalkala. But again, this is the essence of the bracha. So the Gemara says, Michtam b'may chasim. So interestingly enough, now I know that what you end off for ala michya. How do you, interesting, say, if you notice, by the way, when the Gemara spoke about the bracha of ala eitz, it didn't what? It didn't give us the concluding bracha. Right? It gave me the paragraph, but it didn't give me the concluding bracha for ala eitz. So what's the concluding bracha for ala eitz? Ki asar avdimi amarav. So let's listen to this. You're going to go in a little bit of attention. We'll see why we're doing it. So ki asar avdimi amarav. Chasem b'rosh chodesh baruch mekadish yisrav rashei chadashim. So I will say, interestingly enough, that Rav, when he would finish off Shmones and Rosh Chodesh, he would end off the bracha with the bracha of mekadish Yisrael v'rashei chadashim. And I will say, now what's the novelty in the suffix of that bracha? Generally, we assume that brachos should only have one thematic suffix, right? You should end off with one theme. We don't bring in multiple themes. Yet we see that Rav on Rosh Chodesh included Mekadesh Yisrael v'Rashei Chadashim. Why? Because it's not really two themes. Because the one who sanctifies Klal Yisrael, again in this context, Klal Yisrael are the ones who solidify the calendar, and as a result of the Kiddush of Klal Yisrael is able to mekadesh the months. Halchamai. So Rabbi says, so you see from here that you could have two elements in the suffix of a bracha, as long as what? The two elements are related. So Rav Chisda Amar ala aretz v'al peroseh. So Rav Chisda said the way you should end the bracha of ala eitz, right? The bracha achas mein shalosh is on the land and on its fruit. And Rabbi said that's not two suffixes, right? Because remember again, the fruit come from the land. So you should say Baruch Ato Hashem ala aretz v'al peroseh. Rabbi Yochanan Amar ala aretz v'ala peros. Rabbi Yochanan says on the land and on the fruit. Right? So we'll say hear the difference. Rav Chisda was saying on the land and on its fruit. Rabbi Yochanan was saying on the land and on fruit. Amrav Amram, this is not a machlokes. Halon v'haluhu. Rabbi says it's going to sound a bit strange. Rabbi Yochanan is saying ala aretz v'ala peros is the bracha they make in Eretz Yisrael, and in Babel they make the bracha of ala aretz v'al peros sel. Does that make sense? Inhu achli va'anam mevarchinon. Remember again, we make an ala eitz for the Shiva Saminim. So in Bavel we're going to say ala aretzi al peroseha on the land and on its fruit. And in Eretz Yisrael they're going to say ala aretzi al peros. So in other words, literally again, inhu achli va'anam mevarchinon. So in Eretz Yisrael they're going to eat the Shiva Saminim. And the Bavel we're going to bless the land for producing the fruit. Ela efoch. Rather flip it. Rav Chisda Amar ala aretzi ala peros. Rav Chisda lived in Bavel. He said in Bavel, outside of Eretz Yisrael, this concluding bracha of the bracha achas mein shalosh is al haaretz v'ala peros, on the land and on fruit. And in Eretz Yisrael, Rabbi Yochanan lived in Eretz Yisrael says al haaretz v'al peros seha. And Rabbi say this is indeed is how we paskin, right? Ultimately, again in Eretz Yisrael, ultimately the suffix for the bracha achas mein shalosh, is ala aretz v'al peros seha, because the land itself is producing the very shiva saminim. In chutz la'aretz, we say the bracha of ala aretz v'al haperos. I'm thanking Hashem for the species which are indigenous to Eretz Yisrael, recognizing, however, that I am not eating Eretz Yisrael produce outside of Eretz Yisrael. Okay. Says the Gemara, Amud Beis, I will say. So we'll say some really fascinating Gemaras here. So listen to this. What about, right, ala be'av ala kufra? Ultimately, again, what about on eggs and on meat? What about on eggs and on meat? So I'll say, if you just take a look, actually, all right, so good. So ultimately, just so you understand, the way the Gemara ends off with that last piece is logically, intuitively, if you're in Eretz Yisrael, you're going to say ala aretz v'al peroseha. That's possessive. I'm going to thank Hashem for the land and for its fruit, because I'm eating the fruit that came from the land of Eretz Yisrael. Chutz la'aretz, I'm going to be thanking Hashem for the Shivas Haminim, but ultimately, again, I can't say ala aretz v'al peroseha. Why? Because the aretz is a reference to Eretz Yisrael. The fruit that I'm eating outside of Eretz Yisrael is not Eretz Yisrael dika fruit. So I'll say ala aretz v'ala peros. Good. I'm sorry? It's imported. You mean if you're eating Eretz Yisrael produce in Chutz La'aretz, I think we still say ala aretz v'ala peros. I think. What about eggs and meat? Eggs and meat. So ultimately, again, in the beginning you make shakol, and at the end you're going to make brain the fashos. Brain the fashos rabos. Val yarka lo. Listen to this, but on vegetables, no. Rashi says, so interestingly enough, on eggs and meat, you'll make a shahakol first and bring the fashos afterwards. On vegetables, you make a bracha rishona, but no bracha achrona. Rabbi Yitzchak Amar afilu yarka. Rabbi Yitzchak says, no, on vegetables, you'll also make a brain the fashos after you eat it. Aval maya lo. But lamaisa on water, you will not make a bracha achrona. Rav Papa Amar afilu maya. Rav Papa says even water you make a bracha achrona. Marzucha avik Rabbi Yitzchak bar Abdimi. Marzucha paskin like Rabbi Yitzchak bar Abdimi. Rabbi Simi bar Ashi avik Rabbi Yitzchak, and Rabbi Simi bar Ashi ultimately again passed like Rabbi Yitzchak. And how do you remember who held what? V'simana chad kitrei, right? The one with one name held like the one with two names. Utrei kechad, and the one with two names held like the one with one name. Amar Rashi, Ana zimna dechi madkarna avidna kakulu. Rashi says, whenever I remember, I paskin like all of them. So we'll say paskin like all of them means that I make a shahakol before I eat these items, and I make a brain the fashos after these items. Now, of course, the vegetable, we'll say we spoke about cooked vegetables already, when you make a hadama versus when you make a shahakol, right? We spoke about that, right? If the vegetable is normally eaten cooked, you can make a hadama. If it's not normally eaten cooked, then you would make a shahakol. We had that last week. So Rashi is saying, whenever I remember, Rabbi say focusing now on the bracha achrona, eggs, meat, and vegetables would all be items that you would say a berein the fashos on afterwards. So if Ashi says, whenever I remember, I make sure to make a berein the fashos after all of these items. And Rabbi say, that is indeed how we paskin. Halacha l'maisa, these items, meat and eggs, certainly get a shackle and a berein the fashos. Vegetables, cooked vegetables, maybe hadama, maybe shackle, depending on the vegetable, but we'll get the berein the fashos afterwards as well. Tnan. Anything that requires a bracha achrona requires a bracha rishona. V'yesh sheta'un bracha lefanav. There are certain items which require a bracha rishona. Ve'ein ta'un bracha alachara, but do not require a bracha achrona. I will say, what would be something that requires a bracha rishona but doesn't require a bracha achrona? According to Rabbi Yitzchak bar Abdimi, that'd be vegetables, right? Vegetables will get a bracha rishona, but don't get a bracha achrona. Rabbi Yitzchak, lafuke maya. Rabbi Yitzchak will say refers to water. Water gets a bracha rishona, but not a bracha achrona. El Rav Papa lafuke mai. But according to Rav Papa, ultimately again, what is an item that gets a bracha rishona but doesn't get a bracha achrona? Lafuke mitzvahs. This is incredible. I'll say mitzvahs. You make a bracha on a mitzvah before you perform it, but you don't make a bracha on a mitzvah after the performance. And I both say, now this is incredible. Ulibnei ma'arava. What about the Jews of Eretz Yisrael? The basar, the misalki, tfilaihu, mivarchi. I both say this is wild. The Jews of Eretz Yisrael who wore tefillin all day, after they took off their tefillin, they would make a bracha. Mivarchi asher kiddusham esasav v'tzivanu lishmar chukav. They would make a bracha when they took off their tefillin, thanking HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the opportunity to keep His statues. So there's a beautiful Tosas. It's Sunday, so you have time today. There's a beautiful Tosas that actually talks about this dynamic. Ultimately, again, why we don't make a bracha after we take off tefillin. Very simply, it's because we don't wear tefillin the whole day. We only actually wear tefillin for very small amounts of intervals. But those who wore tefillin for the entire prescribed time, when they would take it off, would actually make a bracha of asher kiddusham esasav v'tzivanu lishmar chukav. So according to this opinion, there are times when you even make a bracha after you perform a mitzvah. So lafuke mai, what would it come to exclude? Lafuke rechami, scent. So we'll say scent even when you make a bracha on scent, you only make a bracha before you smell the scent, but ultimately, again, not afterwards. Amar Rabbi Amar Rav, Kol shu ki beitza tova mimeno. Now, this is an interesting, this is a food discussion now. Any food item that is the size of an egg, an egg is better for you. Or I said, now this is not Hilchos Berachos. This is now food quality discussion. Any food item that is the size of an egg is better quality, right? An egg gives you more than any other food item the size of an egg. Kiyas Rabin Amar, Tava bi'asa migulgalta mishisa kaisi sulta. So Rabin said, bi'asa migulgalta, Rashi says migulgalta. Rashi says, Tzluya lacha v'raka shesarfanosa. A lightly roasted egg. A lightly roasted egg is better than even shisa kaisi, even than literally again, shisa kaisi sulta means 6 measures of fine flour. So fine flour is very high quality. A lightly roasted egg is even better than 6 kaisi of fine flour. Kias Rav Dimi Amar, Tava bi'asa milugalta mishisa. Matvi mituyasa me'arba. So we'll say mituyasa, Rashi says over here, tzliya kasha. If it's not lightly roasted, but fully roasted, it's better than 4 measures of fine flour. Umivushalta kolshu, but if an egg is boiled, right, totally cooked, so the Gemara says, mivushalta kolshu, kibeitza, mivushalta kolshu kibeitza, beitza tovi mena lebami misra. We'll say if you have a fully cooked egg, like it's like a hard-boiled egg, is better than anything that's of the same measure, with the exception of meat. Right? Meat is always better than an egg. Rabbi Kiva Omer, good. So we'll say, remember, these were also, the Gemara is talking about over here, just so you understand, not brachos, the Gemara is speaking about the health benefits of these particular foods. So apparently a lightly roasted egg, a fully boiled egg, good. Rabbi Kiva Omer Achal Shalak. So we'll say, remember again, Rabbi Akiva said, very expansive definition of Berachos Hamas. Rabbi Akiva said, any food that you eat as your primary meal, even if it's a cooked vegetable, if it satisfies you, you recite benching on that. So the Gemara says, "Umi ika miti davashalak mezoni." Is there any cooked vegetable that could satisfy a person like mazonos, like food, like a real meal? Amar Rashi beklak shal karov shanu. Yes, actually, again, the stalk of cabbage. Apparently, cabbage stalks are very filling. So if you eat the cabbage stalk, it could be just as filling as a meal. That's what Rabbi Akiva was saying. If you eat the cabbage stalk as your meal, then halacha l'maisa, you bench afterwards. So obviously we don't paskin that way. Then Rabbi said the Gemara is going to speak about the health benefits of some foods. An incredible Gemara. Terabanan, tchol, spleen. Eating the spleen of an animal. It's good for the teeth, but bad for the kishkas. Meaning bad for your kishkas. Creation, leaks, it's good for it's bad for the teeth, but ultimately good for the kishkas, good for the intestines. Kol yerek chai morik. Eating any raw vegetables takes away. Morik literally means makes you pale, takes away from your facial countenance. V'chol katan maktin. And I will say, if you eat any item that is underdeveloped, it stunts your growth. V'chol nefesh. We're going to expound on each of these items. V'chol nefesh meisheves hanefesh. If you eat any living thing, it restores vitality, restores life. I will say, now it doesn't literally mean you're eating it while it's alive. What it means, if you look at Rashi says, Kol nefesh davar chai haneach al shalem, kigon dogim ketanim shegadlu kol tzarchan. If you eat any item that is consumed whole, right? So for example, small fish, like sardines, they ate whole. So any item consumed whole, in its full form, ultimately, and that's called nefesh, restores vitality. V'chol karov la nefesh, meisheves hanefesh. So we'll see what this means. Any part of the animal that you eat that is closest to the life force of the animal, ultimately, again, restores life as well. We'll see what this means. Krov lemazon, right? Cabbage is good for sustaining from mazon. Utradin l'refuah. Beets are good for medicinal purposes. Oilo lebayis, but woe to the home. This refers to the body. Shalefes overes besocho. Woe to the body that ingests turnips. Turnips apparently were bad. So I said, let's go through all of this. So apparently consuming a spleen is good for your teeth, but bad for the kishkas. So we'll say, see, here's the problem. So again, if it's good for my teeth, but bad for the kishkas, so how do I consume it in a way that I get the dental benefit without going ahead and getting the intestinal detriment? So my takante, very simple. Chew on spleen and spit it out. Right? So chew on it. If you chew on it, therefore what? You get the dental benefit, right? You get the teeth benefit. But lamais again, you don't have to worry about the intestinal detriment. Creation, leaks, kasha lishinayim v'yaflim me'ayim. So it's bad for the teeth, but it's good for the kishka. So how do you ingest it? My takante lishkalinu v'lavinu. Cook it until essentially cook it till it liquefies, and then just drink it down without chewing it. Kol yerek chaim morik. Ingesting any raw vegetable causes a person to pale. This refers if you eat raw vegetables for your first meal after bloodletting. So apparently, again, it's very detrimental to eat raw vegetables after bloodletting. This is interesting. Well, say if someone eats vegetables before the first 4 hours of the day, you shouldn't speak with such a person. Why not? Listen to this. My taima mishum recha, because of intense bad breath. So I will say, so the idea is that before the first 4 hours in the day, a person might not have eaten. So if you haven't eaten yet, bad breath is always difficult if you're on the receiving end of that. But apparently it's even more difficult if halacha l'maisa you haven't eaten anything yet. So if someone eats vegetables before the 4th hour of the day, they're bad breath. But say, remember again, when you see these Gemaras, so even though some of these things might sound stranger but alien to us, they're functions of the type of diet and lifestyle they had. Rabbi said, right? This is not like Chazal darshaning a pasuk. This is Chazal telling you about what happens if you go to eat. So again, reflective of the way they ate, reflective of their diets. Rabbi Yitzchak says, really, a person should not go ahead and eat raw vegetables in the first 4 hours of the day. It's detrimental to one's constitution. Listen to this. We're all sitting together. So they were sitting together before 4 hours into the day, and they brought before them raw vegetables. Ravashi ate it. Marzutra wouldn't eat it. Amrulei my dietex. They said to Marzutra, "No, who do you hold like?" Dam Rabbi Yitzchak kala ochel yarek kodim arba shas asil sabre menu mishum recha va'anan dekachlinan dekamishtain ba'adas. They said to Marzutra, on one hand, you're not eating the vegetables, but yet you're sitting here talking to us. And yet Rabbi Yitzchak said that what? That if someone eats 4 vegetables in the first 4 hours of the day, then what? You shouldn't even converse with them because their bad breath is detrimental for you. To which Marzutra responded, Amar lahu, Ana kidat Rabbi Yitzchak severely. Then Rabbi Yitzchak, Asrali Adam Shiachal Yerek Chai Kodim Arba Shos. I hold like the other version of Rabbi Yitzchak. Rabbi Yitzchak holds that you're not allowed to eat. So there were 2 versions of Rabbi Yitzchak. One version of Rabbi Yitzchak was you can't talk with someone who has eaten vegetables in the first 4 hours of the day because their bad breath is detrimental to you. The other version of Rabbi Yitzchak is you should not eat raw vegetables for the first 4 hours of the day. Rabbi Yitzchak says, I don't hold like the first version, I hold like the second version. So I won't eat raw vegetables the first 4 hours of the day, but I have no problem talking with you guys who did. Kal katan maktin. We'll say if you eat any underdeveloped item, ultimately what? It stunts your growth. Even if you eat a very fatty kid, right? So even if you have a young goat, right? A young goat that has not fully matured, right? Which Rabbi say was very expensive, it was a delicacy, but because it has not yet fully grown, eating it apparently stunts your growth. So Rabbi say this is only true if it has not grown to 1/4 of its full growth. But when something has grown to its 1/4 of its full growth, then halacha l'maisa, there's no problem. Kol nefesh meishiv nefesh. Eating anything whole, right, in its fully intact form, restores life. Amra papa, afilu gildani debegili. Even if you eat the small fish that swim amongst the reeds in the marsh. The idea being also they would eat like sardines, right? They would eat small fish. So the idea of eating anything whole, Chazal felt restored vitality. Kalakaro v'nefesh meishav esanefesh. Anything close to the source of life restores life. So this is very interesting. Amrav Acha Bar Yaakov Unka. This refers to eating the meat of the throat. So the throat of the animal, of course, is where it was shechted. So that's where life was taken. That's where life, right? That's where life is. So apparently, again, they felt there was certain benefit to eating the meat of the throat. Amali Rava L'Shamei, ki maisis li umtza de bisra, tarach va'aisli nehecha de mekarev lebei baruch. So Rava used to say to his servant, when you got to the marketplace and you purchase from me meat, try to purchase from me meat from the place where they made baruch. We'll see, what does that mean? The place where they made the place where they make a bracha on shechita. So bring me meat from the place where they made the bracha on the shechita. Try to bring me meat from the throat. Kruv lamazon u'tradin l'refuah. Cabbage is good. Cabbage is good ultimately, again, for satiating purposes. And beets are good for medicinal purposes. Kruv lamazon in l'refuah. So is that saying that cabbage is only good for food, but not good for refuah? V'atanya shishad ramarapin esachol mechalyo. There are 6 things which can help aid in medicinal healing, and they lead to sustained health. And what are they? The Elohein, Kruv, Vitradin, Umesisin, Dvash, the Keva, the Heres, Viosaris Hakavet. So I'll say, what are they? Kruv, cabbage, Tradin are beets, Mesisin, Rashi says, was this type of cooked item. Divash, honey. Keva is the stomach of the animal. Heres is the womb of the animal. Viosaris hakavet is the diaphragm of the animal. These were considered to be parts of the animal that had medicinal healing as well. So you see that cabbage is not just good for mazon, but also it's good for refuah. Elaima kruv afla mazon. Rather, it means cabbage is not only good to satiate you, but what? It also has healing properties. So we'll say, woe to the home, right? Woe to the body that ingests turnips. Apparently turnips, major no-no. So the Gemara says, is that true? But yet Rabbi used to say to his servant, if you ever see turnips in the marketplace, you don't even have to ask what I'm going to eat that day. Or apparently, so turnips are so. So Rabbi used to say he said to his servant, if you see turnips, that's for dinner, right? That's for dinner. So you see, turnips are good. Abaye says, no. Turnips are good, but they need to be cooked with something else. So if turnips are cooked with meat, then they're good. If they're cooked without meat, that apparently is when they are detrimental. Rava Amar Rava says, Mibli yayin. Turnips are detrimental if they're cooked without wine. So apparently, again, I guess turnips by themselves seem to have some type of detrimental flavor. When that flavor is blunted by cooking it with something else, like meat or like wine, you're good to go. Idmar, Rav Amar Mibli Basar, Ushmuel Amar Mibli Eitzim. Rav said, turnips are detrimental if they're cooked without wine. Shmuel said they're detrimental. Both said, Mibli Eitzim means turnips have to be very, very, very well cooked. The idea is keep adding wood to the fire. Keep cooking them more and more and more. And essentially, when you keep cooking them, that's when any detrimental flavor evaporates. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Mibli Yayin. Rabbi Yochanan says that ultimately, again, they're only detrimental if you cook them without wine. So this is very interesting. Amrali Rava l'Rav Papa. So Rava said to Rav Papa, Sudni. So I'll say, so apparently, Rav Papa had a profession. Rashi says, Sudni, Bal Shechar Tamarim, Rav Papa Mocher Shechar Haya, Kedar Be'ezu Neshach. So also listen to this. Rav Papa was a proprietor of date beer. He was a distributor. He was a date beer distributor. We'll say, these statements are always incredible. Why? Because a lot of times we think that because we have professions, that's what stands in the way of becoming a Talmid Chacham. We'll say it's not true. The only thing that stands in the way of us becoming Talmidei Chachamim is us, right? Your profession is not an excuse, right? Whatever I do for a living, I still have the capacity. Rav Papa sold date beer. That's what he was. He was a date beer distributor. So also listen to this. So I said to Rav Papa, Sudni, date beer guy. Sa'anen tabin le'babisra v'chamra. So apparently, what they used to really use to go ahead and cook turnips with was wine. So I said to Rav Papa, you don't have a lot of wine, right? You don't have a lot of wine. So what do you guys use to cook turnips? Amrle, betzivi. We cook it with wood, which also means that in our locale, what we do is we go ahead and we just cook the turnips more and more and more, and that depletes any type of negative flavor. Kiha divisu Rav Papa, basha de mevashlu, tavralon betamnin ufi saiso, like the wife of Rav Papa. After she would go ahead and finish cooking the turnips, she would add another 80 logs to the fire. In other words, that she would continue to cook and cook the turnips until it was fully cooked. In other words, even overcooked. Tan Rabbanan. So again, that's the turnips. So now we understand. Turnips are bad when cooked alone, but either introduce wine, introduce meat, or essentially overcook them. And you'll be fine. Dag katan maliach. I will say salted fish. So sometimes salted fish apparently had negative effects also. Pamim shumemis. Sometimes literally again it could be beneficial and sometimes it could kill you. Okay, good. So the Gemara says, when could it kill you? Right? Not, by the way, not worth the risk. Not the herring is good, but not that good. So the Gemara says, right, when could it kill you? B'shiva asar ube'esrim b'shiva. Either on the 7th day, or after it's salted. Either on the 7th day, the 17th day, or the 27th day. So we'll say, by the way, just also understanding, it's actually interesting, because also when it comes to fish, we know again, fish are also impacted by mercury levels. So we'll say, so this is also fascinating. So again, a lot of these things that the Gemara is talking about, I want to point out, we'll say, these are things that they observed, right? When Chazal say things like this, these are not drashos on psukim, these are societal realities that they observed. So sometimes the salted fish had terrible detrimental impact, and what they noted was the detrimental impact of fish for some reason comes at the 7, 17, and 27th day intervals after the fish has been salted. And some say the 23rd day. And we'll say that was only true when the fish was only partially roasted. So apparently the way they used to salt fish was they would roast the fish and salt it. They saw that the negative detrimental health effects only occurred with lightly roasted fish. If the fish was fully roasted, there were no negative detrimental effects. Avamatui, shapir, less than ba. But if it was fully roasted, there was no problem. Udalomatui, shapir lo amran, ela de lo shasa basrei sheikhra. And furthermore, again, even if you didn't fully roast the fish, the only time there were the negative health effects was when ultimately you didn't drink beer afterwards. Aval shasa basrei sheikhra less than ba. But I will say, but if you drank beer after the partially roasted fish, even on day 7, 17, 27, 23, you were okay. I will say it's just finished. If one drinks water, ultimately again because he was thirsty, ultimately again he makes a shahakol. And the fact that the Mishnah says if you drink water when you're thirsty, make a shahakol, indicates to us what? That if you drank water under other circumstances, halacha l'maisa, you would make a shahakol. What would be an example of a case where you would drink water and you wanted to make a shahakol? Lafuke mai, Ravidi bar Avin, lafuke leman, top of nanhei, dechan kasei umtza. You're choking on a bone. And I will say, so this is not what you think, like a person's mom is choking on a bone, and I'm ready to give them a cup of water. Nu a shahakol maybe first. So we'll say, so again, no, it doesn't mean that. You know, sometimes I will say, you could have something lodged in your throat, and chas v'shalom, it's not sakana. It's not sakana, right? There's something stuck in my throat. I'm fine, I'm okay, but I have to get it out. So what would you do in those type of circumstances? You would drink water. You would drink water. So we'll say in a case like that, where the only reason I'm drinking the water is to go ahead and remove the blockage in my throat, the Gemara says you would not make a shahakol for that. So we'll say, remember again, we spoke about this before, same way that if you're taking medicine, you're taking medication, and the only reason you're drinking the water is to wash down the medication, halacha l'maisa, you don't have to make a shahakol on that water. That's the equivalent of having something lodged. So I'm drinking the water for medicinal purposes. If I'm thirsty, of course I'll make a shahakol. I'm just drinking, I'll make a shahakol. But if there's some type of medicinal benefit, or the only reason I'm drinking the water is for medicinal benefit, you don't have to make a shahakol. We'll say we'll finish. We'll say, remember again, by water, we had a little bit of a machlokes. Right? How did the Mishnah was changed? Rabbi Tarfon says, the Mishnah said that if you drink water, you make shakol niya bidvaro. Rabbi Tarfon said, you say, borei nefashos rabos. So both say, it sounds like they're arguing on the bracha you make before water. Right? That the Tanakama is saying you make shakol, Rabbi Tarfon is saying you say borei nefashos. So the Gemara says, Amrli Rava, barav chanan la'abai. So Rava Bar Hanan said to Abaye, Rav Yosef, Hilchos Samais, what's the halacha? What do you do with water? Suppose this is incredible. Amrlei said to him, Puk Chazi my Ama Dabar. Go out and see what the people do. In other words, you have to ask what the halacha is, and I'll bring the Fashas Rabos after drinking water. Hadrun Aloch Ketzad Mavarch, and I will say Mazel Tov. And Hashem tomorrow we begin the 7th parak of Berachos. not together.
I thought that you were going to say when you're talking about soup that it's a thing for having schnapps.
So what is that?